Oh, hey there everyone. Welcome back to another video. This time around, I want to show my Warlord Games Kreigsmarine Fleet that I just spent the last couple of weeks painting, and wanted to share it with my channel and hopefully provide a few useful tips on what I did to paint the fleet the way I did it. So let's dive in. So one of the first things I did was I sprayed the entire fleet with Wraithbone, I believe it was. You can use Wraithbone or Gray Seer from Games Workshop, or Citadel, I should say, and kind of get it a good base coat like this, and you're off to the races. Now, what I started to do was experiment with different washes, and on the planes I used one of the military green washes that I had in my collection. And I'll put a list of everything below in terms of what I used, but it was a combination of Army Painter paints and Citadel and quite a few different ways of painting in terms of dry brushing, such as what I'm doing right here. I think I used Basilicanum Gray, which is a contrast paint to paint the ships at first, and then I used a very light color from Army Painter to get the highlights. So I just used a dry brushing technique across the whole ship and bring out all the different details, which, you know, dry brushing often does. And basically, I changed my technique to the larger ships. I used a larger makeup brush instead, which tends to be a little bit better for a bigger model. You don't want to cause streaks. Make sure that when you're dry brushing, the brush is really dry, which will really help bring out the details, plus minimize sort of like a smudging kind of a look that dry brushing often does when it's not quite dry. And once you got those, got the ships all dry brushed, you're ready to get on to the next stage. Now, I used at first, I think it was snakebite leather. I'll double check that, but I used snakebite leather to make the wood effect on the hull, at the top of the hull, and I didn't quite like that, so soon you'll see what I ended up doing, but it did help in a way to shade everything around the edges of the ship. So it's up to you if you want to try to do it the way I did it, but you may want to look at using some of these Tamiya paints. Now, I looked online what the appropriate color should be using Tamiya paints instead of Citadel, and I found actually the smell of the Tamiya paint is really good, so you might enjoy that, but I found that it was thin enough to really provide like good coverage over the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, you want to try and experiment the way what suits you best, but I decided to give it a try and just painted the hull, like the top deck, with this sand kind of color from Tamiya, and it looks quite good when it's all finished. So what you want to do is just go a little bit at a time around the whole ship, and yeah, just take your time and get all the details picked out. And if you make a mistake, you can always go back and go over it. But as you can see, it with the shading that I had originally done and with the repaint over top, it looks pretty good. Not too bad. Now for the lower hull of the ship, I used a combination of a couple of different shades of gray paint from, again, Tamiya. And you can see the jars in the video, but I will put a list again of everything that I used down below. But for the medium and small ships, I used a lighter shade of gray. And for the large Bismarck ship that I bought separately from The the Fleet box set, I used a much darker color on that one. I was originally going to do the camouflage. I may still do that, but as you will see at the end of the video, I didn't quite do any camouflage effects on the side of the hulls. And I just kind of did with whatever I felt like looked good in my opinion. So I wasn't going for like any particular like campaign or battle or anything like that. So I just kind of used a combination of what I liked and a little bit of some of the Warlord games online photos. And yeah. And of course, with the gray, if you get it on top of the top of the deck again, you can always go back and kind of touch it up yourself. Yeah, so with the Bismarck, I used a darker shade of gray compared to the other lighter shade. I'm trying to think of the number off the top of my head. I can't quite recall it, but you'll see it in the video here. And I think it's like XF54 or something like that. But again, I'll list everything down below. But once you've got your base colors done, it should look kind of like these, give or take. And then the next step is basically washing the base with, or not washing, sorry, using contrast paint to paint the water, paint the ocean basically. And I use a more of a darker color when I get to do the Japanese fleet. I'm going to like change it up a little bit and do a little experimentation with it to be a little bit more of a tropical kind of a color. But for the Atlantic Ocean, I kind of went with a little bit of a darker blue color, and eventually I'll pick out all the waves with another color, which you'll see shortly. So you may have seen my Ice Maiden project for Dystopian Wars, and I came up with like a combination of washes, or I keep saying washes, contrast paint, white, and regular colors. So for the waves, I'm going to use a bit of this lighter shade of blue to kind of pick out some of the waves a little bit instead of just plainly dry brushing the whole thing. I'm going to be mostly hand painting the waves. And I thought, looking at pictures online, you can see that behind the ships is usually a trail, like a wake. So I thought I'd try to simulate that here with hand painting the, I guess it's the wake of the ship, the water at the back, and kind of doing like vertical lines to really sort of show the flow and the direction that the ship was heading. Yeah, and using the same technique, I just did around the front of the ship. And I found that looking at some pictures online that between the front and the rear of the ship, around the center of the ship is not as many waves and highlights. So I thought, for the effect, I thought maybe put most of it at the front and at the very back of the ship and just a little bit of detail. So if you go a little too crazy, you can always go back and use the the dark blue contrast to clean up your mistakes. But it's entirely up to you. I find that sometimes dry brushing, it leaves gaps. I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't always detail well on waves. So I thought hand painting might look a lot better. And I had this other contrast paint around that I used a little bit at the back of the ship and just kind of give it a little bit of a glaze kind of look over top of the highlight, so you can leave that as an option for yourself. But I liked it, and yeah, again, just correcting some of my mistakes here and there where I felt it needed to be darker. Again, I just went over with the Talassar Blue, I believe it's called. Yeah, and so when you get past that stage and you're on to painting the white, I used this AK Intense White. I happen to have it in my paint collection. I decided to use it, and it actually looks really good over top of the blues directly. So again, no dry brushing. I just painted directly where I wanted the white to show up on either side of the ship, and as well as the front. And yeah, for the front of the ship, I really liked just painting right in front of the bow of the ship. And is that the bow? It's so bad doing this video. But yeah, like I decided to, like, I felt that putting more in the front of the ship allows for, like, I guess the waves to break. Look like it's like really speeding along and breaking the waves quite a bit. So I put like a lot more around the front of the ship, and I thought it looked quite cool that it was just like creating more froth around the front area and then slowly being dragged down the side of the ship. I don't know. I am just experimenting. I really don't know what the hell I'm doing, but anyway, whatever makes it look good is my philosophy, and you could do whatever you want with your ships. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is tabletop standard, in my opinion, the way I'm doing it, because I just want to get them on the table. But at the same time, I want to make them look pretty good from a distance, and doing some like really neat hand painting and all the waves just as an extra touch. So now I'm just working on the final details and fixing up some of my mistakes and using some of the Games Workshop. I said Games Workshop, sorry. The War Games Atlantic images, and using the Games Workshop paint. In this case, I was using the yellow paint for painting the tops of the turrets, and I saved the ships, or sorry, the airplanes, until the very end of the painting job, and this is the result of all that work I did for the last I don't know, couple of weeks, I guess it was. Doing a little bit here and there, but got the Bismarck kind of sailing along on a very cool mat that I've had in my collection for a very long time. You may see some creatures under the waves there. Maybe guess below what this mat or what this game is from. The mat is the game that this mat is from. And let me know what you think. But it was the only one I had in my collection that is water related, and I thought it looked pretty cool showing off the Kreigsmarine Fleet now that it's all finished. And I will work on the Japanese fleet that I've got and some other ones in the very near future, so stay tuned for that. But hopefully you liked this video, and stay tuned for more in the future. I'm just getting started again in painting, so hopefully you can come along for the journey and coast along. Stay frosty.